I mean, this is crazy what's going on in America at the moment with these hearings, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, the Bannon case is a more specific one. So let's take the easy part first. It was pretty much an open and shut case that when he would not give testimony to the January the 6th hearings about the Capitol attack, including about his role in it, then he had committed contempt of court or contempt of Congress, in fact. So he faces up to 2 years in prison and a heavy fine. Now, the wider issue is, of course, the timing of this is in the midst of the hearings that we're having in Washington. There have been 9 now. And the hearings are now at the point where they really have established through videos, through audio, and through testimony that there was months leading up to the attack, which was this denial of the election result by the Trump camp, and that they moved from legal means to challenge this, which were the court cases where they didn't succeed, to what could arguably be called illegal means, which was pressuring states to overturn the election, pressuring the Justice Department to overturn the election, and then finally instigating these rallies to go on the Capitol and attack the Capitol. And indeed, we even know from the hearings that Donald Trump wanted to lead those marches as they attacked the Capitol on January the 6th.
I mean, what I can't get my head around when it comes to Mr. Bannon is that he said in the last few hours, I stand with Trump and I stand with the Constitution. Well, I don't know what the Constitution has to say about this sort of thing particularly. But him and Trump, I mean, Trump got rid of him. Trump called him Sloppy Steve only a couple of years ago. So why is he so determined to stand by President Trump now?
Well, that's a great question. In August 2017, and Bannon had only been in the White House for 7 months, he got pushed out. But that was primarily because of there was a power play where other advisors thought he was trying to take too much of domestic policy. He was trying to take too much of foreign policy. He had antagonized, indeed, he was almost at war with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his daughter Ivanka. So Trump got rid of him because of that rivalry. But Bannon remained an informal advisor. Within a few months, Trump and Bannon had made up. So they talked on the phone quite often. And the key part here is that from September 2020, Bannon used his digital radio program called The War Room to bring on the Trump allies, lawyers like John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, to push the idea that the election would be stolen. And then afterwards to say that it was stolen. And Bannon was in what was effectively the headquarters for those rallies, the Willard Hotel. And indeed, the day before January the 6th, after talking to Trump's people, he said, get ready. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
Is it that which is in some of these documents that he's failed to produce? I mean, what's he frightened of?
Well, no, the all hell will break loose is what he actually said on his radio program. So he actually put that out there for public record. What's in the documents is the private communications that may explain to what extent Bannon had connections with, and I'm going to be hypothetical here, with right-wing militias who were involved in those rallies and then the attack, because other Trump advisors have been connected to those militias. Indeed, Bannon called for one of those leaders of a right-wing militia to be released from prison just before the attack. What connections he had with congressmen who were involved in the planning for the rallies and possibly the attack, and then what connections he had with Donald Trump in the lead up to January 6th.
I mean, from an international perspective, this all seems, Scott, absolutely shocking. And it seems pretty black and white, actually, if we're being honest. And yet in America, of course, that isn't the case. I mean, people are still very blinkered, aren't they, when it comes to Trump and his administration?
Yeah. I mean, can I give you an analogy, as I find interesting as an American here in Britain? We had the flutter after Boris Johnson got into deep trouble as to whether or not he would hang on, whether he would refuse to go and defy his conservative MPs. In the end, he did go. Imagine if Boris Johnson said, I'm not leaving 10 and Downing Street. And imagine if some conservative MP said, we're going to help him stay in Downing Street, despite the majority of the party saying otherwise. And imagine if other radio show hosts and TV hosts supported Johnson to seize power effectively. That is what happened in America, is that the country is divided politically, where Trump could go to some radio and TV host, like a Steve Bannon, where he could go to some congressman and say, if that election, I'm not going to accept it. And I want Mike Pence on January the 6th to block the certification of Joe Biden, to prevent him from becoming president. The one thing in America that prevented this divided country from facing what could have been a coup was that Mike Pence refused to block the certification of Joe Biden, which meant we did have a transition of power, albeit one that was marred by the attack.